lockdowns, stay at home, isolation. These are all terms associated with the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic in Melbourne. However, while case numbers skyrocketed in Melbourne, the slow rise in regional Victoria created different issues.
And in the country we figured that we're pretty isolated. To be perfectly honest, it was probably nearly 6 months before we actually had a case in the Shire. That turned out to be a case of a person who claimed the residency at Beulah, which is half an hour or 20 minutes north of here, that didn't actually live in the area in the Shire at all. So our first case was a non-event because it wasn't actually, they didn't live in the Shire.
One major area of the regional Victorian economy that was hit the hardest was small businesses. At the peak of the pandemic, the Labor government commenced COVID-19 disaster payments, offering small businesses grants of up to $7,000 in order to assist them in the midst of lockdowns and dwindling revenues.
We wouldn't have survived if we didn't receive the money from the government. That helped us out and relieved the stress.
The recovery for many businesses in regional areas this year has been positive, with the return of tourism and travel to the regions.
So I'm surprised that we've actually recovered so well. Well, actually, interestingly, one of the things we found is that more Melburnians are now getting out to the regions, and that's actually really helped with the recovery. And to some degree, the pandemic actually forced a lot of Melburnians to go and see the towns around them in Victoria, and that's actually had a really ongoing positive impact.
An event that many are expecting to further assist with the economic recovery is the upcoming 2026 Commonwealth Games, taking place in regional Victoria, with regional cities like Ballarat already having preparations underway.
And we're looking forward to it. There's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars spent. Only a couple of weeks ago, the Deputy Premier announced that there's $150 million being spent just on the stadium precinct itself. And there'll be more money being spent on building new housing for the athletes, which we hope to sort of turn into affordable and social housing afterwards, as well as a whole range of other infrastructures, possibly new train stations as well.
While local businesses are recovering after the economic challenges of the pandemic, there is still a long way to go. As the recovery continues, locals have this message for tourists.
Don't lock down your aspirations to the now from Melbourne, because there's so much more in the state to see, and everyone's made very welcome.
Come out and see what it's all about. Lovely area, nice and flat. Lots of water around at the moment, so there's lots of birds and things like that. So a good area to come to.
Just try something a bit different. Go and check out a different town or a different city you hadn't been to before. There's so many great places, all within 2 or 3 hours of Melbourne. Yes, you'll get the internet. Yes, you'll get a good coffee. And who knows, you might end up falling in love with a place and becoming a permanent resident.
Joshua Malcolm, MOJO News.